What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we need to talk about Digimon and how the ban hammer has come down. I say that Digimon really don't like banning cards. They're like well against banning cards. However, we do have a big update to the restricted list. There are 4 cards that have been added to the restricted list. Of course, BT10 just having come out. This is a kind of time where we have a bit of a look at the restricted list. And we've seen a pretty big update, honestly. Now, one that we all saw coming, this was DORUgoramon. We knew DORUgoramon was coming. And the reason we knew DORUgoramon was very simple. It's because it's banned in Japan, or restricted, I should say, over in Japan. And it's one of those things where Japan doesn't have to copy us. Because Japan's format may have moved on, I think is fair to say. Japan's format may have kind of moved on a little bit. So they don't necessarily need to copy us. But in terms of the cards we are restricting, but certainly we need to copy Japan, because if they've banned something, it's basically saying, look, well, Japan is us a couple of months ahead. If they've gone and banned it, it is definitely going to end up being a problem for us. And DORUgoramon is a little bit of a problem. It's an X-antibody card, that is very important, that's got an inheritable skill. While this Digimon has X-antibody in its traits, it gains security attack +1. Actually, I should mention all of the cards that have been restricted. There's 3 new ones today. They have actually all been restricted in Japan as well. I said Japan don't have to copy us. That's true, because they might have kind of gone through the format and not banned it, and now it's too late. They have, however, in this particular instance, they have gone and copied us. Let's be 100% clear. Okay. So back to DORUgoramon then. Basically, it can give you security attack +1, which sounds pretty good. The thing is, X-antibody decks, they have this thing whereby they're really good at putting X-antibody cards under each other. So the Aoyamon from BT8 lets you, when Digivolving, place a card with X-antibody in its traits from your hand under this Digimon, which is pretty gosh darn good. Or you've got stuff like Yujimusha. When one of your black Digimon with X-antibody in its traits attacks, you can suspend this tamer to place a card of X-antibody in its traits from your hand under that Digimon. I'm not going to keep going, you get the point. There are a bunch of them. And that means that when you've got a really good inheritable skill, like DORUgoramon does have, it's so much easier to kind of, take advantage of it, basically. And that's why DORUgoramon gets restricted here. Because it's basically too easy to start just stashing DORUgoramon under your X-antibody cards, and every time you do so, you gain security attack +1, and this can add up extremely quickly. So for that reason, it got restricted in Japan. Didn't really need to get restricted before now, but now, like I say, we've got BT10, and it has gone and been restricted, so if you wanted to play X-antibody, I'm sorry to say, ladies and gentlemen, but things just got a bunch more difficult. What does it say on the official website here? Because we do have an official statement from them, which is rather lovely. As a Digimon card with X-antibody in its traits, multiple copies can easily be placed as a bottom Digivolution card of a Digimon by other card effects to gain security attack +1. Furthermore, when Digivolving, it has a powerful defensive effect that prevents other effects from deleting it or reducing its power until the end of your opponent's next turn. So to adjust the balance, they've restricted it to 1 copy per deck. Yeah, that's the other part. When Digivolving, you can place a black card with X-antibody in its traits from your hand to the bottom of its evolution sources, which could be another DORUgoramon, and then that prevents effects from deleting it or reducing its power for the turn. So it's, it's kind of ridiculous, kind of redonk, and we all knew this was going to end up happening. Now it's out, and it absolutely has. If I haven't said this already, by the way, these are all going into effect on the 11th of November. Now, Calling from the Darkness, that is a card that we all kind of suspected might end up going away at some point, and now it has. What we've got is an option card, a 1-cost option card, lets you delete one of your Digimon to return 2 purple cards from your trash to your hand. But bearing in mind, purple don't really care. about deleting their own Digimon. There's a billion different skills that you can use to delete your own Digimon and just not really care. You know, go back to Tapiamon, one of the really early ones. Again, I'm not saying it's the only one, just a random example. But, you know, go back to Tapiamon here. It's got a really rather nice skill whereby when it does get deleted, you get to draw a card. Which is good, honestly. And then there's a whole bunch of others. Purple don't mind getting deleted. They've got a bunch of good deletion skills. But then you get to return 2 purple cards from your trash to your hand. And basically this led to a bunch of loop decks. So in the description for this video, you'll find all of the games that I commentated for the Digimon Regional at the UK Games Expo a while ago. And that was won by a weird deck nobody saw coming, which was actually built around this Lilithmon loop. And now Lilithmon is a redonkulous card. When Digivolving, if you've got 10 or more cards in your trash, you can return up to 2 purple option cards from your trash to your hand. And on your turn, once per turn, when you use an option card, you gain 2 memory. And then you use it with stuff like Calling from the Darkness to basically loop and play a whole bunch of option cards, run your opponent out of resources and deck them out and frustrate them. It's really annoying. This is one of the main cards that lets you do it. And Digimon, it's not quite like in Pokemon where we've got a real good sense of exactly what's going to get banned. But it really does seem like they're going for, if a deck is too good and it's kind of restricting creativity, that's when the ban hammer's coming down. So what does the official announcement say? This card can delete a player's own Digimon and collect Digimon cards from a player's own trash for a low cost. As a result, it causes various endless loops and is supporting unintended playstyles. Basically, they don't want you playing the game like this. It's kind of as simple as that. They don't want you playing the game like this because that's not how it was intended. It's not supposed to be, I'm going to sit here and take a 10-minute turn while you regret playing this game, and that's why it's ended up being banned or restricted. Now, one that has surprised a few people coming out here is a restriction of Shoutmon X4. Now, of course, this has just come out. BT10 is the new set. BT10 has literally just released, or, a week ago in North America and Latin America, and 2 weeks ago in Europe and Oceania. It's a brand new set. And already Shoutmon X4's got the hammer. Now, it does have material save too, lets you put a couple of evolution cards under a tamer when deleted. Nobody really cares. But on play, you draw 2. At the end of your attack, by placing Digivolution cards from under this Digimon on one to your tamer, you unsuspend one of your tamers and delete this Digimon. And it's got Digicross -2, Shoutmon, Ballistamon, DORUgoramon, Starmons, which can basically make it a 1 cost, because if you bench it with each of those under, you reduce the cost by 2 for each one you bench. So it can be a 1 cost. And basically, what you can end up doing here is just getting off a bunch of really cheap attacks. Bearing in mind, one of the ones you can use here is Shoutmon, and we do have a Shoutmon which will give you Rush. It is also the one from BT10. So basically, you can play this down as a 1 cost with Rush, which means you can attack right away, and then and it's just a little bit silly. Not to mention, when you get to the end of your attack, you can place all your Digivolution cards under one of your tamers to unsuspend it and then start bringing those cards back, and it just gets a bit silly. Over on the official site, they said, due to its effect that allows the reuse of cards required for an end of attack Digicross, this card can be used for a string of repeated attacks at a low cost just by having multiple copies in a player's hand. Its on-play effect also gives it a stronger than intended advantage to cross-heart decks to increase the number of cards in a player's hand. It draws 2 when you play it, so, it ends up being kind of a 1-cost card that draws you 2 and then potentially has Rush. Yeah. That is quite a bit better than they intended it to be. Shoutmon decks have ended up being really, really good, and this is just a way of trying to bring them back to the pack a little bit. Because let's not forget, in future sets beyond BT10, we do see more of these Digicross decks that do make it even better again. And then the last one they've gone and restricted here is Sunrise Buster from BT9. It's a 5-cost option card that lets you play a yellow or red tamer from your hand without paying. And then one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 3,000 power for the turn for each yellow and or red tamer you have in play. But if you're playing a 4-cost tamer, this essentially becomes like a 1-cost card. And in tamer-heavy red and yellow decks, and as we've seen in recent formats, there have been a bunch of them, you're essentially paying 1 memory to get a big reduction in one of your opponent's Digimon's power. That, It basically adds up very quickly and ends up being just way better than it was really intended to be. So we end up seeing it restricted. The official website tells us this. This card has a powerful DP reducing effect along with an effect that plays a tamer. Therefore, the output of this card's effects is greater than intended in some decks. For this reason, we've decided to restrict this card to 1 copy per deck. And it kind of makes sense. It's one of those, and I know there are going to be people out there with all of these 4. There are going to be people out there that kind of wish they weren't restricted. Would love to go and have a play with these cards. And all I can tell you is, Digimon, if nothing else, you can be annoyed about the individual restrictions if you like, that's up to you. But the one thing I'll tell you is, this at least tells us Bandai are paying attention. Now, you might disagree with what they're doing in terms of which cards restrict, etc. That's absolutely fine. But you can't argue with the fact that Digimon care about trying to fix the format and trying to make it fun and trying to keep it interesting. And you can disagree about how they're doing that. That's absolutely fine. We all have different opinions. But what we see here is Digimon really going out of their way to go, hey, we've got 4 cards here that are just kind of ruining it for everyone. Let's fix it, shall we? And that is exactly what they've gone and done. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Now it's over to you guys. Tell me which of these cards you wish stayed around. Tell me which you're happy to see go. Tell me anything you want to tell me in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk Digimon and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, answer all of your questions, join a Discord and chat with us, and generally just have an awful lot of fun. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wasi Plays.